now move on to discussion item number 19, notice of public hearing, issuance of revenue bonds by the California Municipal Finance Authority for the benefit of Metropolitan Area Advisory Committee on Anti-Poverty of San Diego County, and an aggregate amount not to exceed 25 million, right? All right, can you go ahead and call the speakers?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 9 requests to speak on this item, 3 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 1 e-comment in opposition. Any members of the public that requested to speak on item 19 by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. All speakers are in opposition to this item. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall under the murals until it is your turn to speak. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and I'll ask you to state your name for the record. I'd like to invite forward Alan C., Bryant Rumbaugh, and Truth.
Hello, good afternoon. Hope everybody had a good lunch. Alan C. Anytime you put one group above another, you're basically taking away our freedom. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I emphasize that point. Pursuit. When you start giving out these grants and handouts and that, you take away a desire to pursue. You put stagnation. You basically make people victims. So how's anybody going to get ahead? When you're claiming poverty, when you're saying this, that you're only going to give, who decides who gets the money? Yes, that's what I'm asking about, 19, where you're talking about anti-poverty, San Diego County, and you're going to put 25, so many zeros there, I can't even add them all up. But you're actually deciding who gets the money, and basically you're taking away innovation and our will to succeed, because at the end of the day, when people work and they do this, it's a sense of self-accomplishment. By you handing out this money and making them a victim, you're actually making the situation worse. Not job training, not handouts, jobs. I yield back.
So just for clarification of the public, I just want to make sure people understand that this is an issuance of a revenue bond by the California Municipal Finance Authority for the benefit of the MAC project. And this is pursuant to Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code to hold a public hearing regarding the financing of the project. And all of the details and information are specified in our board letter. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that there is no grant that the county is giving to anyone. This is a process that's very common and that happens often. And I think it's really important not to be providing misinformation to the public. And so I just want to make sure I clarify that. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying. Bryant Rumbaugh still. So, with regarding what it is you just said, what I really think that we need to realize is just because it is commonplace does not mean that it's necessarily benefiting, us. We essentially, we can talk, I can talk to you all day long about the Internal Revenue Service and the Internal Revenue Code. I probably actually know quite a bit about that compared to most. Ultimately, what the gentleman prior to me was talking about was dignity. And dignity is something that is accomplished. It is a sense of accomplishment, kind of like what I was, last time I was up here, Jim, when I just kind of said, we as a society need to learn how to not just take our job seriously, but also have something to hang our hat on at the end of the day. We definitely have a lot of carpetbaggers, freeloaders, all that type of stuff. And really what it is, in my opinion, is them sticking up to a system that they've kind of, for lack of a better term, you can say sold their soul to, you can say they just chose it. They've decided to be allegiant to a system that leads to human suffering. And what I can tell you is that in this country, just like we changed history in 1776, we're gonna change it again. And how that's gonna happen is quite simple. We're gonna be setting a precedence for the rest of the world. And we're going to be eliminating a lot of these things that are really become an atrophy to our ability to, flex our muscles. And it's not a matter about being tough, man, because I'm not interested in that. I have nothing to prove to you. I do care for you. I care for everybody in this room. Okay? I just want to see improvement. And we need to get creative on this. And just because our federal government and our state government, we've completely lost sight of the 3 layers of sovereignty that existed in this. The reason, all right, my time is up. I'll see you in a minute.
Next speaker, please.
It's truth. These supervisors are going to approve up to $25 million in bond debt from the California Municipal Finance Authority for the benefit of the borrower, Metropolitan Area Advisory Committee on Anti-Poverty of San Diego County, Inc., so they can buy the San Martin de Portes apartment buildings on Hamishaw Road in Spring Valley. This item claims these apartments will allegedly be affordable for 55 years, which is impossible to guarantee. And this political corporate committee has no business in acquisition of buildings. This committee consists of extremist organizations such as ACE, Alliance San Diego, PANA, and Planned Parenthood. Considering that racist Planned Parenthood is Nora's former employer, I'd call that a conflict of interest. And to further muddy the dirty, fraudulent emergency storm water, as of May 23rd, the Metropolitan Area Advisory Committee received a total of at least $85,000 from these supervisors. Both the county and the state have been propping them up. Even the California Municipal Finance Authority is a corporate entity based in Carlsbad and run by people from extremist Berkeley, U.S. Bank, and by people promoting environmental social governance. There is no public approval for this corporate acquisition, but it'll still pass like everything else, and the county will collect $991 for little to no work. This might even be an easier check collection than a fraudulent emergency, though not nearly as big of a check, right? But Misinformation Minister Nora, at least it's not as disappointing like having the federal government not give a care about Imperial Beach, right? Democrat on Democrat hate, how about that? That should serve, though, as a hard lesson for fools that they've got money to counteract a weak storm and to bring in undocumented illegal entrants, but no money for Americans suffering from toxic sewage for decades. We call that corruption business as usual. And so yes, this is business as usual, and so it will pass as usual, but it doesn't mean we like it.
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
All aboard. The application for this anti-poverty bonds thing in Section 3 asks for only 15 million in bonds, not 25. But you want 25 million. What's the difference? Graft? Cost escalation? What? For Section 6, the developer has other income lined up. Did you misread and put the total cost of the project? The catch is where we're told the units are affordable. San Diego recently boasted about creating 77 units of affordable housing, but in fact, only 32 units at the site were for truly low-income San Diegans, with up to 30% of the area median income AMI. In the present case, the units are for families of 4 or more who make from 35 to 45% of AMI, about 48 to 62,000 a year. So I'm wondering, what's all this anti-poverty talk? I think, 35% is a bit much. What about people who don't make 35%? I think a family of 4 could live reasonably well on 62,000 a year. So I would say that only 79 units are for really low-income people. Nice amenities, though. So the question should really be, do we want to put taxpayers on the hook for $25 million for a $15 million request for affordable housing, which is not really for totally low-income people? This is almost as bad as asking for a new binational affairs officer without funding the position. A distraction from reality.
Now hear from the next caller.
Oh, we know what they're doing. This is going to swallow. We know what they're doing, Paul the Bold. Same old thing. Different day. Fraudulent as ever. But yeah, it's just a reminder, too. It's 2023. It's evident you're leading the effort with the human trafficking thing in 2012 was a big, fat failure. Don't be proud of Vargas. your failed efforts. Trafficking is the worst it's ever been, Vargas. You're so cool. I'm going to
Just a
call
reminder
you
to please
Kulo.
keep on the item,
You're
item
so
number
cool.
15. If not, you can go ahead and call back.
Okay. So again, it's because of we the people who create the change, not government. It's our money, our government's money. Kulo.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Kudos to the previous speakers because they're so right. And it's so sad, Nora, that you feel the need to silence people to mitigate misinformation when you guys only see misinformation. You guys even created your whole board last year or whatever for the COVID, and we can't have people lying to the people. You guys lie to the people all the time. If you didn't, we wouldn't have to come in here and counteract all the things that you're
Item
saying.
19, please.
And if you did things...
Is
Yes,
on specific to a
thank you,
bond.
Nora.
Can you please
Yes,
stick to the
Nora.
item?
Yes,
Thank you.
it is, Nora. Nora, quit interrupting people. You're just like Nathan. It's so ridiculous. You guys sit here and you're like, it's anti-poverty. It has nothing to do with that. You sit here and you talk about making, affordable homes for people. Why are people leaving in droves? Because they can't afford to live here. Because what you claim is affordable is not, in fact, affordable. And that is the problem. You take the people's money and you sit here and you destroy the county. Anything that you guys put money towards or claim to gets worse. So doesn't matter if you get all this money and you want to sit here and virtue signal like you're going to do something that is going to benefit people. We see right through you, and that's why you have to sit and silence people, because you can't handle the truth. If it wasn't true, you would let us sit here and say it. But you can't. You can't stand the light. You can't stand that people have to come in here and redress you, because what you guys are doing is totally corrupt and nefarious. You're engaging with people that are not for the American people. They're set out to enslave the people, and that is exactly what you are doing. And every attempt to pretend to help people, you are enslaving them. And whenever, somebody comes and says what you are doing is wrong, you can't stand it. And if you were doing what was right, we wouldn't have to do that. And so that's on you guys. You could turn away from what you're doing, but you choose not to. You keep pushing back against the people. When you say you want to listen to them and have them tell you how they feel, then you interrupt them, and you won't even let them talk or come in.
You. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Thank you. I'm happy to make a motion to support. Is there a second? Second. All right. With that, go ahead and call the vote.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson? Aye. Supervisor Desmond?
Aye.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer?
Aye.
Chairwoman Vargas?
Vargas, aye.
The motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Thank you. We are now going to move to item number 22, which is developing a pilot shared housing program to prevent homelessness among older adults. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Supervisor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to thank you all, and especially Supervisor Lawson-Remer. We did the shallow rent subsidy, and that came from a study that showed that the fastest growing homeless were 55 and older, with a spike at 65. And we have a pilot program that's addressing that. But I don't believe that's enough. I think it's really crucial that we end senior homelessness here in San Diego County. The statistics are starting. Over the last year, we've witnessed a 25% increase in the number of unsheltered residents aged 55 and older. This surge has brought a total of over 2,000 seniors who are now living on our streets. It's a crisis that can't be ignored. According to the UCLA Elder Index, a staggering 41% of our seniors struggle to afford basic necessities, including housing, food, health care, and transportation. These are our neighbors, our parents, our grandparents, our friends who have worked tirelessly throughout their lives and now in their golden years are confronted with the harsh reality of simply not having enough money. This is why I'm recommending the development of a senior shared housing program specifically designed for adults age 55 and older who are in need of affordable housing options or are teetering on the edge of homelessness. Due to technological challenges, many of our seniors don't know how to use room-sharing sites such as Craigslist or others to find individuals to fill their empty rooms. These sites don't perform background checks or other compatibility tests that would ensure appropriate individuals be matched with vulnerable seniors. This program would facilitate shared living arrangements, matching seniors with other seniors and other home seekers who are in need of a room and would help lower overall housing costs and other expenses. So with that, I'm asking for your support in moving a program like this forward. I understand there's many challenges, but we really have to blow the boxes and look at all possible options to solve this problem. I can't think of anything worse than a society that allows their seniors to be put out in the streets. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open it to public comment.
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 11 requests to speak on this item, 5 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. Also note that we received 8 e-comments, 6 in favor, 1 in opposition, and 1 neutral. Any members of the public that requested to speak on item 22 by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers, starting with those in favor of this item, followed by those in opposition. As your name is called, please come forward and stand against the east wall. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board, and I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward Stephen Burrell and Israel Hernandez.
Good afternoon, supervisors. It's a privilege to be here and to speak to you about this issue. My name is Israel Hernandez. I'm the Associate Director for Advocacy and Community Engagement with AARP California here in San Diego. We greatly appreciate your focus on the needs of older adults and their unique needs specific to housing and safety, and we support a senior shared housing program to combat older adult homelessness. According to AARP and Statista analysis, nearly 238,000 older adults are expected to fall into homelessness in 2023 in the United States. And looking down to San Diego, as was mentioned in the policy letter, 41% of San Diego seniors struggle with basic needs. The recent point in time count highlights this, showing that 29% of the homeless population are comprised of older adults. AARP would also like to encourage the County Board of Supervisors to explore integrating an intergenerational component to this. There's also a startling number of college students experiencing homelessness and struggling to find housing. This could provide a dual solution, and existing programs such as Orange County Home Share, among others, might provide valuable insights as you look to build this program. We'd also urge you to consider the following, and some of these things were mentioned, which I think is great: rigorous vetting to ensure safe and harmonious living arrangements through tenant and host vetting, age-informed training, equipping hosts with knowledge to support older adults effectively. County Aging and Independent Services already has a program like this that they provide to homeless service providers, so they'd be well equipped to do that. Management and oversight, establishing strong case management and oversight for safe and sustainable matches. Before I was in this role at the ARP, I was a case manager for shared housing, and that component I can guarantee is critical. Equity and access, ensuring countywide equity and availability of this service, and community input. So to reiterate, we support this, and we stand as able and willing partners. Feel free to reach out to us for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite the speakers in opposition of this item, Alan C., Brian Rumbaugh, and Truth.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Vargas and board members. My name is Steve Burrell. I live in Oceanside, and I'm here to make a few comments in support of this concept, this program. And let me thank you, Board Supervisor Anderson, for stepping up to the plate here. I think it's a much needed idea, and I appreciate your willingness to be creative, not just you, the whole board, because that's what we have to do, because the challenges are obviously large for how we deal with this, the ultimate issue of the homelessness and also affordable housing. So let me give you a couple of what my thoughts on what the benefits are. The number one is that it offers more units. Number two is the advantages to people who are both the ones that are the rentees and the renters, for both sides. So let me just tell you my story. I happen to be one of those people who shares my house out of economic need with someone that's of another generation. I'm what they call the silent generation. You know, that starts in 1945. So that's when I was born. And so I'm sharing it with someone, and it took me a while to find the right roommate, to tell you the truth. And so I'm just throwing that out there because it is complex. When you think about all of you, think about inviting somebody in that's a total stranger to share your house and what that would entail. So this is not something that we shouldn't be very careful about as to who participates and who is the benefactors of it. And I'm sure we will be. So that's something I wanted to share with you. Also, in terms of benefits, the safety, security, and social support, and reducing isolation. You know, you may or may not know that there's a lot of harm that comes from being isolated, and there's a lot of data to back that up.
Thank you. Your time is up, sir. Thank you. Sir, your time is up. Yep, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay, still Bryant Rumbaugh. So, you know, Jim, I actually wanted to just read something real quick. This is pretty much the second half of an email that I received from your staffer, Patricia, regarding the public speaker. The only information I can provide to his needs are being...
So just a reminder, this is specifically...
Yeah, I get it. We're talking about homelessness. We're talking about a major problem in this country, in this world.
Yeah, specifically to the pilot share housing
That's
program.
right, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm talking about a program that I've had people at this, whatever you want to call it, pedestal here, talking in front of me on September 13th, the first public speaker talking about your failed policies, about money that was thrown away. That dude was so irate, he was going to go to the federal government. But he has no concept, my opinion, and I'm entitled to my opinion, as to how corrupt this system is. And you're going to sit here and stand up for this shit. I got to tell you something, lady, not going to happen.
No, I just need you to focus on item number 22.
I'm speaking to homelessness.
Yes.
The moment you know how many times I've been in here and they've talked about homelessness? More times than I can count. Every time. It's like a broken record. Okay? You need to understand, society needs to understand there's certain things you are not going to be able to fix. Especially when we refuse to live our lives in truth. We refuse to be our brother's keeper. We're greedy sons of bitches. Yeah, I'm looking at you when I say that. Okay, so we need to figure it out. What are you blowing at me for, man? Okay? I'm here because I care. I want to see improvement, so does everybody. Get your policies correct. I never heard back from regarding the public speaker, the only information I can provide is his needs are being addressed by county staff. I've asked 3 times here by myself, never got an update. Who do I need to talk to? His name was Alejandro Sanchez.
Next speaker, please.
Please let me correlate this. It's my own family involved with this. Maui burned down, and then the government says, we'll buy your property out. My own nephew, he works as a nurse up in Oregon. Over 1,000 homes, a lot of them senior citizens' homes burned up. The government up there 2 years ago said, don't worry, we'll buy your property.
Can you state your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Alan. Yeah, but I went up there this summer to have family reunion, and I saw what happened to properties I saw when I was a kid with senior citizens living in them homes, and now they're all affordable housing units. Here in Chula Vista, K and Third, literally K and Third, people live there 40 years in lower middle class homes. They raise their kids, their grandkids are going to inherit all this, and yet they put a senior citizen complex literally blocking their backyard. The affordable housing you can never own. Your great grandkids are going to be subsidized somebody's rent forever. So I confronted Mountain West, who's actually got the monopoly in Chula Vista of all the affordable units, and we confronted them at the city meeting down there and says, okay, you're putting these, trying to help the senior citizens. How much of the units are after my great grandkids subsidize that guy's rent? $800 a month. Meanwhile, Prop 19 back in 2020 put a death tax on all the existing senior citizen homes. When they die, the their dream they built, lifetime built up, will now get reassessed to current market value. What happened to their dreams? What happened to the dreams of senior citizen homes behind that K and third where they put affordable housing units claiming they're helping senior citizens? Do you want to really help senior citizens get out of this homelessness? Stop the taxes. Stop this gas tax increase. Stop another tax increase that you're campaigning tonight on L Street. Stop all these taxes, the cost of living, because that affects everything. The price of groceries and everything, all that affects everything. Let's help society out for a change instead of just handouts. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hey, it's truth. Joel, what's the difference between affordable housing and attainable housing? Does this item mean to suggest that the so-called affordable housing is not really attainable? Because if so, then I agree. And will the vetting be as good as with the sex offenders in the motel voucher program? But I do also agree that many people who are homeless are older in age. In fact, I'm going to share a true story. Two older women suddenly recognize each other, and the first one yells out, "Detroit!" The first woman asks Detroit where she's been. Detroit says she's been homeless in El Cajon and that the sheriffs have been messing with her. She also said, "I could sleep on the front lawn of Alvarado Hospital and nobody cares, but they offered me to go to Otay Mesa. It beats downtown." Now, obviously, the encampment bands have been uprooting people and shuffling them around the county like cattle. But anyone who's walked the streets not too far from this building very clearly understood what that woman meant. Just the smell alone ain't for everybody. But I do like this item, that this item admits that the government housing programs have years-long waiting lists. But a shallow rent subsidy is indeed a shallow idea. It's a Band-Aid to a bigger problem. It can't keep taking from the county budget that comes from taxes people pay to give to other people. Its Band-Aids are like duct tape in a boat with several holes. We're eventually gonna sink. But I'm not saying a shared living arrangement is a bad idea. It's not. Older people definitely need companions as long as there's a program to ensure compatibility and not just have random people thrown together. The only real conundrum I have about the shared living is that it reduces the need for new construction. So how does that fit the RHNA numbers agenda when the state wants more housing, not less? Good luck. But it's sad their elders not receiving help from their families. Nora, you had the county take care of your dad, right? He didn't even want your help. Isn't that interesting? But hey, the elderly allegedly don't even know how to use Craigslist, according to expert Joel. He just has all the answers. Just shows, just like Todd Gloria.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Swallow. Enough with thanking them. It's our money. Wake up, pay attention, slaves. Know what they're really doing. Again, government creates the chaos and destruction to appear as the heroes to save the day. They should be the ones living together as housemates. They're supposed to be working for the people. No.
Consuelo, your device might be muted. We'll move on to the next caller.
It's just really sad to see that all the things that you guys do create this homelessness, and if you stop doing that, then we wouldn't need to, fix the problem. But anytime you fix the problem, then you don't have money coming in, and it's sad to see that, you talk about wanting to take care of seniors and stuff, but if you go to any of these senior living homes or, different nursing homes, they are not well kept. These people are not taken care of. They are having things stolen from them. They're abused. It's very disturbing. And so now you're wanting to put some seniors in, match them up with people, and that can go down a very dangerous path. I mean, who's going to be the ones making sure that this is a good fit? And, if they want to leave, are they going to be able to? Or is it going to be something like, no, you can't, you're stuck here for however long we determine? And you know, it just makes me wonder, with all this money that you're putting towards homelessness and helping the issue, when this next point in time count comes, you know, how many more homeless are going to be added to the numbers like this last year? And yet you sit here and get all this money and you project that you're going to be doing all of these things that are seemingly so good. That's the thing, is like Satan is so good at wrapping up a package to make you think that you're going to heaven when you're really going to hell. And that's what you guys do. You wrap up this beautiful package to be like, this is going to be so great. And then when you open it, it's a bunch of ash and coal and nothing good. And so that's why people come in and have to redress you guys and get so emotional about it, because what you're doing is not bettering the county. It doesn't matter how much money you throw at things. They continue to get worse. Just like Tara was talking about how you guys have been working so hard with, you know, human trafficking, and yet look what's happened. It's only gotten worse, just like everything else you guys do. So maybe if you stop making everything get worse.
Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on this item.
Supervisor Anderson, did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I would.
All right. You're welcome. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer?
Thank you so much. Happy to second if no one has it already. First of all, I just want to say I really appreciate the creativity on this initiative. I completely agree. We need to be really thinking more broadly about how to tackle this challenge. You know, I think we've made, you know, some big strides with some innovative programs, and I appreciate that this is another innovative approach to tackling one of our region's most pressing challenges. Just a couple of comments and thoughts for staff, I think, to consider, hopefully, as you go about putting this together. I think, first of all, it's very clear that for something like this to work, we really need to think really hard about the human dimension and about compatibility. I mean, you're really thinking about bringing people into your home. And I'll just speak from experience. I, as a mom of someone a little kid, and I'm always needing childcare, I've tried to use some of these apps like care.com or whatnot. They're really difficult because even with all the screening and with all the reviews, it doesn't really address the human component. And you're talking about your most precious human, or you're talking about where you're going to live in case of this program, and it really has to be compatible. So I think we're going to have to do a really good job of sort of thinking about how do we really focus on human compatibility, and not think we can just like automate that completely. And then the other thing I just want to throw in the mix, I appreciated you know, some of our commenters focus on intergenerational housing. I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And again, you know, as a single mom, I could really imagine really appreciating finding a senior who wanted to have shared housing. So there might be a lot of compatibility. So I think that this could end up being the type of program that benefits intergenerational groups in our community, starting with the focus on seniors, which obviously is one of the most important populations that we really need to help make sure that they stay housed and stay in community and have relationships with loved ones and are not isolated. So those are just some of my thoughts and considerations. I would love to make sure that we're really thinking about the human component and thinking about intergenerational housing and how to sort of match different kinds of families who have different sorts of needs and look for some compatibility there. So happy to second, and thank you for the creativity in bringing this forward.
Thank you. The only thing I would add, and I'm going to go ahead and support it, of course. I think it's a great opportunity, especially as we're looking at opportunities to prevent homelessness among our seniors. I think what it emphasizes is that we continue to really we need to continue to figure out how we maximize our housing inventory and find innovative solutions. I do want to make sure that we're creating programs that are making sure that the needs of our seniors are being taken into consideration and that we don't unintentionally house seniors with inadequate roommates. And I know all of that, the folks who are going to be doing all this programming are going to be looking into that. Elder abuse is something that is very real in our communities, especially when it comes to issues related to language and understanding the system, et cetera. And I also think that there is something about being able to have your own space and what that looks like. So as we're looking at these opportunities, looking at what there's a way to have community while also people making sure that they have their own spaces so they can have the dignity and respect that they deserve. And so I'm happy to support it, and I'm looking forward to what this program looks like as we're moving forward, and really making sure, more than anything, to ensure that the number of seniors that are unsheltered is reduced, as that continues to be a priority for us as a county. So we have a motion and a second and no other comments, so we can go ahead and take a vote.
Thank you. Supervisor Anderson.
Aye.
Supervisor Desmond. Aye. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer.
Aye.
Chairwoman Vargas.
Vargas, aye.
The motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. At each meeting, we ask any of you if you want to provide updates or reports on progress on share pertinent information during anything that you want. Does anybody have any comments?
I think I gave my LAFCO update.
Okay, we got you. Vice Chair, you're good? You're good?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think, and we had this conversation, I think we talked about this the other day, but I just want to go ahead one more time and just thank the Office of Emergency Services for all their work, particularly around the potable water issue, and thank the community for everything that they did. We are going to continue to work with the region to ensure that if anything like this occurs again, information gets out there as in a easy, timely fashion. But I want to again thank the OAS team for all the work that they did. With that, this concludes the business before the board today, but we're now going to proceed to an adjournment in memory, and public comment will resume after the adjournment. So first adjournment is by Supervisor Anderson in memory of Germán Gacitla, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With a saddened heart, I would like to adjourn today's meeting in memory of Germán Gacitla, a man who was much loved and known for his dedication, his family, and his craft as a machinist. Germán was born and raised in Chile and eventually immigrated from Chile to the United States with his wife, Vicky, who he had known since his childhood and who he would eventually marry on June 19, 1965. Germán immigrated to the United States not knowing any English, but eventually learned and worked many different jobs before making a career for himself as a machinist repairing printed press. Germán took great pride in his career and treasured his interactions with clients, building relationships with his vibrant, warm, and sociable personality. Everyone loved him. And Germán always put his family first, loving and cherishing his two children, Claudia and Paul, and each of his grandchildren, Gabby, Isabella, Holden, Star, and great-grandchild, EJ. His enduring legacy resonates through the children and grandchildren he leaves behind. Although I've never had the privilege to meet Germán, his daughter, our county council, Claudia Sylvia, and his son, Paul, have displayed remarkable success serving as testaments to Germán's values and influence. I express our deepest sympathy at his passing, and by this adjournment, memorialize him for his lifetime, I'm having a tough time, I'm sorry, lifetime contributions to our community. Germán, please rest in peace. You'll be deeply missed. Thank you.
Thank you, that was beautiful. The next adjournment is by myself in memory of CAL FIRE Assistant Chief Josh Bishop, Fire Captain Tim Rodriguez, and Pilot Tony Sousa. It is with great sadness that CAL FIRE shares the tragic loss of all three of them who perished in a mid-air collision earlier this month. As a devoted and loyal firefighter, husband, and father, Josh Bishop never stopped serving others. He adored his wife of 24 years beyond measure and lived to make his children's dream come true. Josh taught others to live in faith, be humble, and to never settle for less than achieving your own dreams. Fire Captain Tim Rodriguez, bless you, was born on January 3rd, 1979 at San Jeronimo Hospital in Banning, California. He was known for his love of his family, the outdoors, and was often described as an outstanding friend. Throughout his career in the fire department, Captain Rodriguez was always the consummate professional exercising incredible character, leadership, and humility. Tony Sousa of Red Buff, California, was a loving husband, father, and friend to many. Tony was a pivotal in implementing the CAL FIRE Helicopter Coordinator, or HLCC training program, which started in 2022. Tony has survived by his wife Rachel, sons Connor and Carson, father Ed Sousa, and mother Sharon Dudal, and an abundance of family, co-workers, and friends. Our condolences go out to the family and friends of Assistant Chief Josh Bishful, Fire Captain Tim Rodriguez, and helicopter pilot Tony Sousa. With that, Clerk, can you please call the remainder of the public speakers?
Thank you, Chairwoman Vargas. We have 14 remaining requests to speak on matters not listed on the agenda, 5 in person and 9 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. Again, you'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward Robert Gurman, Lawrence Vapel, Ham, Truth, and speaker slip with the name Payback.
Pam, I'm going to talk about mask. An NIH-published study, quietly released in the spring, suggests N95 COVID mask may expose wearers to dangerous levels of toxic compounds linked to seizures and cancer. This study suggests the tight-fitting mask may expose users to dangerous levels of toxic chemicals. Researchers from Jeonbuk National University in South Korea looked at 2 types of disposable medical-grade masks, as well as several reusable cotton masks. The study found that the chemicals released by these masks had 8 times the recommended safety limit of toxic, volatile, organic compounds. Inhaling these compounds has been linked to health issues like headaches and nausea, while prolonged and repeated use has been linked to organ damage and even cancer. The study was published in the journal Ecotoxicology and Environmental Safety and on the NIH's website. Research by the Cochrane Institute suggested that face masks made little to no difference in COVID infections and deaths. Another study suggested that wearing face masks raises the risk of stillbirths, testicular dysfunction, and cognitive decline in children. Increasing evidence shows there seems to be diminishing returns on the need for masks. The newfound dangers of masks will make mask mandates ineffective. Looking around the chambers today, I'm saddened to see masks worn 3 years post the start of insanity in 2020 out of fear or perhaps mental health issue or even self-esteem. I'm saddened but not surprised to see the fear-mongering by Dr. McDonald and other non-elected employees of the county. Not surprisingly, Tara, where'd you go? You report to have COVID after previous claim to be injected. As another circus may occur, let me finish by saying, I will not wear it on my face. I will not wear it in any place. I will not wear it to get in. I will not wear it on my chin. I will not wear it on my ear. I will not wear it out of fear. I will not wear you stupid mask. I will not wear it. Do not ask.
Next speaker, please.
Hi. I was going to say good morning, but good afternoon. A little cuteness here, I think, maybe a little humor. Anyways, good morning. Robert Gurman, Lakeside. Good afternoon, Ron. These 2 slides were taken in the lobby at San Diego County Airport, Carlsbad. I had a hard time understanding this piece of art. A white elephant, yes, but it is an extinct, prehistoric white elephant. Then it came to me. What a perfect mascot for San Diego County airports. Fits right in with the herd of San Diego white elephant airports. Then I remembered the arrival and departure sign in the lobby. Next slide, you got it. Now I looked up and I lost. Carlsbad's white airport, like the statue implies, and with the arrival and departure sign, points out this Carlsbad airport is on its way to extinction. At what point is San Diego County Airports answerable to its citizens for the past bad land use decisions of our white elephant airports? In 2015, San Diego City did an audit of its airports. I think an audit of every county airport is warranted. We need affordable, planned communities for our citizens, not islands in the middle of our inner cities that we can't even drive across. A feasibility study could be done for the consolidation of San Diego white elephant airports to one state-of-the-art, multiple runway world airport with all modes of transportation feeding into it. MCAS is the perfect choice, and I came here this morning with the two ladies from Carlsbad and to support them for the two people that they want to put on the PAC board. And they're not pilots. They're not businesses at the airport. I think they would have a change. I know them both. I think they would definitely be good for it. So the quicker you can do it, the better off all of us would be. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
This is truth, and I'll have my ice cream birthday cake and eat it too, which Nora owes me as a friend. Instead, all I got was a meeting starting on TJ time. Although I'm okay with that. But Tara, why are you sick? Look, you're not even here. Don't the clot shots work? What's going on? Now, I recently watched a Sandag YouTube video entitled Sandag Webinar on AB 43 and AB 1938, Changes to Speed Limit Setting Practices. A government entity can use both bills to lower speed limits anywhere by up to 10 miles per hour. All they have to do is either label an area high pedestrian or bike, and or use an area with high traffic accidents as an excuse. They can also label an area safety corridor and take up to 1/5 of the total roadway, or even 1/5 of all public streets or highways. Used as an example was San Francisco's Municipal Transportation Agency's Vision Zero culture change of 20 miles per hour to as low as 15 miles per hour on roads. They even label narrow highways as alleys in order to reduce speed limits to 25 miles per hour. And they're planning over 118 safety corridors every 1/4 of a mile with speed signs and radars everywhere. All of these changes use the excuse of safety, but the presenter couldn't even provide an estimate of any decreases in fatalities. They're doing anything they can to get slower driving speeds to de-incentivize driving through methods including complete streets, high entry networks, traffic calming, road diets, active transportation networks, and alley, school, senior, commercial, or safety corridors. And all of this has been done without neighborhood input, as in they don't care what the people think, they just don't want us driving. It's very Sandag. So come out and tell Sandag how bad their regional plan is tonight at New Directions on L Street in Chula Vista at 5:30 p.m., or September 6th at the San Marcos Civic Center, September 13th at Oceanside Library, or September 20th in El Cajon at the Red Shield Center. There's even free dinner, but no assy bowls, Joel. Just remember not to sell your soul and oppose the regional plan's tracking taxes and lack of road repairs.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Foot fell asleep. Name's Payback. Payback is a bitch, and apparently it's going to take me a lot more work to go ahead and get it. Our elections are extremely important. They're important for many different reasons because we have the ability to kick you guys out when we don't like what you guys are doing. Unfortunately, Michael Vu worked extremely hard to give that power from the people and give it to corporations. Now, if corporations want you guys to do something, they could guarantee you will stay in office. They will pay people to go around, collect ballots, and a fraction of them will go ahead and change them up. I have a letter from Heidi, Claudia's office, that basically states that the County of San Diego Registrar of Voters does not confirm the ballots issued or the ballots counted. Matter of fact, to prevent this from coming out, we decided to reduce the amount of ballot types from 120 to 7. 120 was for the governor election. 7 was for Newsom. I wonder which district that you were not allowed to take off, to keep it down to one ballot type. I know you were working on it extremely hard because I argued with you while I was working in that office all the time about the dangers of doing what you did. And you want to go ahead and say I'm full of shit? You are full of shit, Michael Vu. You have no way. Like, here's the thing. You guys did not check to see if the ballots came back with the wrong ballot type for Newsom's election. How did you?
Thank you. Your time is up, sir. Final call for Lawrence Vappel.
Fuck you, Roy.
Oh my gosh. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Hello, this is Kelly McCormick. I'm a public health educator with a focus on youth, alcohol, tobacco, and drug prevention. Thousands of San Diego County residents will recognize International Overdose Awareness Day on August 31st. The rise of fentanyl accounts for the majority of drug deaths. Across the country, more than 100,000 were killed by fentanyl in 2021, about 800 in San Diego County. Some of those were individuals seeking fentanyl's stronger high. Others unknowingly took counterfeit drugs containing fentanyl. I have shared hugs and tears with local parents who lost their teens and young adults to fentanyl. There is a common element in these tragedies. Their children had started their drug use with marijuana. Their children suffered from anxiety and were attempting to self-medicate. Their drug use escalated from marijuana to pills, which turned out to be fake, containing fentanyl and fillers. Many in San Diego County are familiar with Dr. Ronit Lev of Scripps Mercy Hospital, internationally known for her work and research in emergency medicine and addiction. Dr. Lev has said that she has not seen anyone in the emergency department for a drug overdose who did not begin their drug journey with marijuana. To change this trajectory, we must do more to educate young people and their parents about the harmful effects and addictive nature of marijuana. We must fight back against drug use normalization, increased availability, and the ultra-high THC products that dominate the marketplace. And we must do more to support children and teens struggling with their mental health. Drugs are not the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hello and good afternoon. This is Ann Riddle. I called in to share a new flyer that has come out from UCSD in association, their School of Medicine, in association with the California Office of Traffic Safety. We are mostly using it on our high school campuses, and it's to educate our students regarding that a DUI includes driving high under the influence of marijuana. This wonderful new flyer from UCSD and OTS reminds us that 56% of drivers in serious injuries and fatal crashes test positive for at least one drug, and cannabis is the most common drug detected. They point out that there are many different ways that cannabis/marijuana can be consumed, and the effect is different from short-term to long-term, quick and delayed, and that all are dangerous, and that one has to be careful about any decision to use and then to drive. And since we're seeing more of this on our roads, you can imagine how important it is to let our high schoolers understand this. We need to remember that in California, it's illegal to drive under the influence of any impairing substance, including marijuana, regardless of the reason we say we are using it. And that there are serious consequences for a DUI conviction, which includes losing your driver's license, a criminal record, and possible jail time, and a lot of expenses for our young people, $13,000 and climbing, and their families who have to take it on. Let's remember that use of marijuana has rippling effects in a lot of ways, not the least of which is getting into a car and driving.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon. This is Peggy Rocker, public health advocate. While you are in break, supervisors, new studies reveal that, as the previous speaker mentioned, marijuana is the most common drug found in those testing positive for intoxication for serious injury and fatal car crashes. We also found out that alcohol and nicotine use by pregnant women decreased, but prenatal marijuana use has increased substantially, posing serious threats to unborn babies. And youth were found at risk for harsh respiratory problems after only 30 days of e-cig use or vaping. These are only a few findings from continuing studies showing that This is bad timing for expanding the marijuana market. With THC potency off the charts, marijuana is no longer a natural plant, but a harmful, chemically engineered toxin. This makes the industry's packaging of kid-friendly products even more shameful and egregious. Another study just identified the amount of THC related to severe toxicity among children and suggests that we need to legislate THC according to such measurements. We cannot overlook the impact of high-potency THC on children or on rising rates of addiction, mental health, psychosis, schizophrenia, homelessness, and suicide rates for all ages, issues addressed earlier regarding consent item 5. Nor can we ignore gaps in compliance checks and enforcement deficiencies in marijuana regulation. With so many failures, mistakes, and disastrous outcomes, I suggest this is not a time for marijuana expansion, but for policy that serves public health. Thank you.
We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon. I'm Diane Grace, who attends my county planning group, where I learned about the county's plan to increase the number of pot shops where I have lived. I work with ethnically diverse students who assist them in learning leadership and advocacy skills. At a recent county listening session, staff took comments regarding a marijuana business expansion based on the idea that the county needed more marijuana businesses as an opportunity to provide more jobs to those disproportionately harmed by the war on drugs, a much overused, inaccurate media term. Several callers expressed their dismay at the idea. I hope those opinions were captured and not the opinions of those who live outside the county and outside the unincorporated areas who love the idea of making money off marijuana. That said, the majority of my students are Latino, Hispanic students. Latino, Hispanic parents do not aspire for their children to work in marijuana businesses. My parents recognize that marijuana storefronts and their pervasive advertising and billboards clearly market their products to youth as a solution for sadness, despair, fear, and apprehension. Our county's funding would be more wisely spent on youth ages 12 to 25 by providing tutoring, mentoring, internships, job training opportunities, which is the real answer to social equities, not pot shops. And our students need access to mental health services, affordable and available. This is the very wrong time to expand the influence and prevalence of marijuana businesses in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Chair Vargas and Supervisors. My name is Becky Rapp. I'm a parent advocate who works with PTAs providing good health information. I wanted to thank the county for recognizing that September is National Recovery Month. Saturday, August 26th, the county and Live Well San Diego hosted an event at Waterfront Park, bringing the county's recovering community together to raise awareness for treatment, support programs, and local resources. Some events featured naloxone education, interactive activities, and shared stories of hope. I appreciate events that focus on addiction recovery, as the rates of addiction among San Diego residents has significantly soared. An article in the Washington Post describes the staggering increase in addiction across the county, across the country, as drugs have changed from agriculturally derived products to high-potency synthetic drugs. Marijuana is a prime example. In the 1970s, Woodstock weed contained roughly 1 to 3% THC. Since then, the potency of the plant material has increased to levels of 18 to 23%. In 2017, THC concentrates had an average potency of 55.7%. And today, many retailers promote and profit from products containing 95 to 99% THC. Americans 12 and older who reported marijuana daily use increased from 6.2 million in 2009 to 13.8 million in 2019. The high-potency synthetic-derived products are key to increased addiction in our county. Advertising and product marketing concentrates on residents who are young and impressionable, with retailers and product manufacturers eager to create addicts for life. Please consider this important information as we celebrate National.
Now hear from the next caller.
You know, it's interesting. Words are cast spells, and that's why it's called spelling. And when God created the earth and everything, he said, let there be light, and there was light. And so everything that you guys say matters, everything we say matters. And if you pay attention to the things that are going on with these variants and whatnot, you have Eris, which is the Greek goddess of discord and strife, and this Pirola or whatever, that means penis. So we're sitting here and playing games with the people's minds, and if people really paid attention, they would listen to the people when they say, when we vaccinate, that creates variants. So we're always going to have to vaccinate because there's always going to be a variant. And in order to keep up with the variants, you've got to get vaccinated. And, you know, because not everybody's getting vaccinated, now we're going to need to put it into the water so that everybody gets vaccinated. People need to understand what is happening is a total control of the people, and it is a depopulation agenda, because otherwise they would look into these shots that are totally killing people. They actually have nanotechnology in them, their devices. It is not only just toxic and poisonous, but this is leading to the AI transhumanist agenda, and nobody wants to pay attention to it because you guys want to sit here and say that we're conspiracy theorists, because as long as you think that you do that, you can cast a spell upon the people and make them believe that everything that we say is untrue. But yet we come to you and we talk about climate change, we talk to you about human trafficking, then you want to virtue signal and act like you're going to do something about it when in fact you're perpetuating it, because you're not going to go to those schools and tell the kids that they are being trafficked out of those schools. You're going to tell them that it happens outside of there, but you're not going to be honest with them and tell them that the very place that they go to get some faux education is the very place that they could be taken and murdered and trafficked and whatever happens. So you guys need to think about what you're doing, because you are willfully doing this stuff and people are being willfully blind to it. And whatever we put into the world, we get out of it. And that's why everything.
Thank you. For the record, the speaker is Audra. That concludes the request for non-agenda public communication. We have 4 requests to speak on closed session matters, all by phone. For those individuals that requested to speak on item 24, which are closed session matters for the board's consideration, please dial into the conference line now using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll give the callers a moment to dial in.
Just a reminder to make sure you get your slips on time before these items come up. Otherwise, next time, we're going to have to go with the public comment over the phone.
I'd like to invite Ford Truth. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board.
The Collins were too slow. All right, Truth, sorry about that. Case A is Briggs Law Corporation versus the County of San Diego. Briggs has had tons of lawsuits against the county and the city of San Diego, including representing the Sierra Club. They sound like a pretty annoying entity representing extremist organizations, so I hope they start losing their frivolous lawsuits. Case B is Lisa Joy Kelly versus the County of San Diego and former Deputy Sheriff James Steinmeier, who in 2021 had an annual salary of over $236,000. What's interesting is that Lisa had another case against the county and 10 unnamed officers for negligence, battery, assault, intentional inflictions of emotional distress, and trespass when sheriff's deputies responded to a domestic violence call right next to her motorhome in Escondido in 2019. The deputies broke down the fence and forced entry onto the property without a warrant. They told Lisa to stay back, and she did, but she still ended up with injuries to her eyebrow and nose when a piece of the fence broke off and hit her in the face. Her day was ruined for no good reason. And case D is Brenda Arguez versus the County of San Diego, which I've spoken about before. I found out that Brenda is a secretary to Assistant Director Aurora Kiviat of Behavioral Health. Aurora's under that greedy Luke Bergman. I would hope that Brenda could get justice for her 16-year-old son, Alan, who died after only 2 days of being in juvenile hall. And I would hope we could all get justice, even for injustices, say as a bunch of stuff shoved in the consent calendar by consent mafiosos.
People think that when you put things on the consent agendas because you're trying to hide something and you're trying to be like this mafioso elected official, right? You're trying to get as much as you can done through the consent agenda so that we can have enough time to have a discussion in all the items.
We're eliminating public speaking to one minute only to discussion items, and so...
You know, there could be a Brown Act lawsuit in the county's future, even in Sandag's future, speaking time reduced to 60 seconds of fire and fun. But, you know, I guess maybe KC, maybe it was KC for criminal, you don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. Start with our first caller.
What's so interesting about closed session is that the people pay to, have you guys litigate and do these things, but yet, you have to keep it private and away from the people. We can't see, anything that's going on. We don't want the people to hear. And if anybody has to bring about litigation, you're going to use the people's money to go against them. So it's like if that person whose money was being spent to go against them doesn't have enough money to go against that, nothing gets done. And as you guys sit and you're going to be locking us down again very, very soon in lockstep with the World Health Organization and the United Nations, just think that you guys cannot do that under the law. You have no right to deprive people of their civil rights or conspire against it. It's a federal offense, 18 U.S.C. 241 and 242, which comes with jail time. And how many people are in the county? 3.38 million. That's a lot of counts of felonies for all of you guys when you're sitting there and depriving people of their rights, saying that they don't have a right to go outside, you have to wear a mask, you can't have a job if you don't get a vaccine. You guys are going to play round 2 of this whole shenanigan. So when you're doing that, think very wisely when you put us in another emergency gym just for the money and say that, even though these PCR tests don't work, well, we still need money for it, so we're going to have to still use those, right? And, it doesn't matter if we're, depriving people of their rights and giving you a choice. Either you can, take a test or take a vaccine or lose your job. I mean, those are choices, right? But you're never really people leaving them up to free choice and free will. Yet you sit here and claim, the people have the right to do all of these things. No, you're taking every right you can possibly think of just because you have to be in lockstep with some treasonous organization, which makes you treasonous because you guys are engaging with people that don't want what's best for the American people. They actually want to destroy America, and you are helping them do it. And that is what is so sad, because once they do that whole pandemic preparedness accord, you will have no say. So do you think you're outside of this?
Thank you. And now hear from the final caller.
Hi, Paula Bold. What I really wanted to comment on was the hiding of the truth. It's bad enough that you put 20 of today's 22 public speaking items on the consent calendar, which effectively buries them from public comment. And then, of course, you commented on them for pretty much the time it would take for a public comment session. But when it comes to all these lawsuits and stuff, I think the public has a pretty reasonable interest in knowing what's going on with the sheriff's department with all these deaths. Maybe some people would call in and have actual great suggestions as to how to fix the problems instead of just having them buried in some bureaucratic nonsense that never gets fixed. I mean, the record is disgusting, you know, that it goes up and up and up and up for years. I mean, and I'm sure there are other important issues in some of these lawsuits that if they were aired publicly, you know, maybe you'd get some good suggestions how to solve them, how to save the county and the taxpayers, may I add, money. So, you know, let's be reasonable.
Thank you. And Chairwoman Vargas, that concludes public comment on the closed session matters.
Thank you so much for that. We're going to go ahead and proceed to public comment. we're going to go ahead and proceed to closed session. But before I adjourn the session, I just want to say thank you to all the people who joined us today, public members who joined us, who were here that provided feedback without using profanity, bullying, or harassment. I really appreciate that. This is what this process is all about. We want to make sure that we invite the public to come and speak. And I think you all make democracy better when you do that. It's unfortunate that sometimes people don't follow the guidelines, but it's okay. We're going to want to make sure that we continue to encourage people to come here and speak their mind. And even if we agree to disagree, that's what this is all about. But I appreciate the folks that are not, going into those tactics. So with that, this session is adjourned, and we're going to move over to a closed session.
The board will now recess into closed session to consider those matters listed under item 24 on today's regular agenda. If there are any reportable actions that will be reported out during the planning and land use session of this meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, August 30th, 2023.